got the corners all squared up and made some measurements for the back. Again, I took it right off the piece because it's a lot easier that way. I've got 20 and a half by 25 and 7/8. Pardon my crude drawing here, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making rails that are 2 1/4 inch thick in the top and bottom, 1.5 inches on the sides. Now there's going to be a panel in the back, and I didn't have any lumber that was wide enough to cover that complete span. So I am going to be putting an additional stile right down the middle of it and have 2 panels in here. And I think that might look pretty nice because it'll mimic the 2 styles of the doors when they're open. And it'll be a nice piece in the back, and it'll be a nice visual effect. This is one of the styles for the back, and these actually need to be 25 and 7/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square one end, put my flip stop down, and then square the other end. Two styles in, and they are a little bit long, and that's again by design because I want to make sure I have a good fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in here, I'll press them up against the sides. I'm going to take a measurement again off the piece, and almost 17 and 9/16, and that's a nice even amount there. So I actually want to cut this a little bit big, so I'm going to go 17 and 5/8, and that's how long these rails are going to be. I've got all the pieces laid out how they're going to be, and this is what I would consider the show face. This is going to be inside the cabinet facing towards the doors. The back is going to look nice too. This is going to be joined together with, you guessed it, dominoes. I've already marked those out. I've marked the corners out. But I also need to cut some grooves around the inside here, and those are going to be for the panels to fit in. I've left the middle section long, and I'm going to be cutting stub tenons in those to fit in the middle of this. So the next thing I need to do is to cut those grooves on the inside of these stiles and rails. I'm going to use my router table to cut those grooves in the rails and stiles, and what I've got is a 1/4 inch straight cutting bit. I've got the bit 3/16 of an inch away from the rail, or from the router fence. I'm just going to run them through, flip them around, and run them through again. They'll center my groove. I've already run a test piece through, so I know that groove will fit my panels. Now on the stiles, I need to create stop dados, or stop grooves. And I've split my fence where the ending and the beginning of my bit starts. So I'll be able to drop it down, go to where it starts, and then push it through to ends, lift it up, spin it around, and do the same thing. I'm going to do this in 3 passes because it is a 1/4 inch bit and this is hard maple. It should go pretty smoothly. I'm back on the work table here, and cut the grooves. I'm going to take this sliding stock ruler and put it in the groove, bottom it out, tighten it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark here. I'm going to flush this up on the bottom, extend the mark here. I'm going to do the same on top. And that gives me the distance between the grooves. Now I need to measure the distance there. And I'm going to start at 1 because it's easier that way. And that number is 21 5/8. So I need that middle piece to be 21 5/8 inch long. Now that I've got the middle rail cut to length, what's more important than anything else is not necessarily the length of the middle rail, but the distance between the shoulders of the two tenons. So what I want to do is I'm going to take these two pieces, I'm going to flush them up, use my finger down here, I'm going to take my marking knife, and I'm just going to make a tick mark right there. And I'm going to do the same on the top. And I'm going to use distance for that to cut the stubs on the stub tenons on the middle rail. So to go back to the router table, I needed to put those grooves in the sides of this. And this is what I was talking about before. I take this, flush it up here, put this in here, get that on the ends. Now I put this piece on here, flush it up at the top. It's perfectly flush on both the top and the bottom of the piece. That's what I'm looking for. So this piece will actually go in the middle like this, and then these rails will go like this, and there'll be panels in between here. Well, I've got one of the stiles clamped down on my MFT, and I'm going to be cutting the mortises for the dominoes on both ends, and of course on the rails. I'm going to dry assemble everything together, and then that's going to help me get the dimensions to cut the back panels. Two pieces I'm going to be using for the back of the cabinet, and this used to be one solid piece. I resawed it and thickness down to 3/8 of an inch, and there's some very nice quilting down here. I'm going to be using that on the inside of the cabinet, and this will be what's going to be on the outside. So I just need to rip these down to the final dimensions and then cut them, cross-cut them to the final length. Well, here's the back piece all dry fit together. I've got some light duty clamps again, just holding it in place. This is slightly oversized for the hole by about 1/16 of an inch or so, both length and width. So I am going to have to trim it down to fit that opening, which again was by design. All the joints are nice and tight. It's flat. I really like the way the grain pattern looks on this. Before I can glue this panel together to put on the back, I need to pre-finish these panels. As they expand and contract, I don't want to have them pop out from underneath these grooves and be able to see the non-finished part. So I'll do that before I do the glue up on this. Here I am again at my assembly table, and I'm getting ready to assemble the back piece. I've sanded the back panels down to 400 grit, and I've also pre-finished the edges of this that'll be going into the mortises. It's basically 3 coats of shellac, about 1.5 pounds cut. I just want to make sure that those edges are finished. So it's time for the glue up. I've got the back together and it's fitted into the back of the case. I had mentioned before that the back of the case is proud of the size of the case, maybe by about 1/16 of an inch. And I've seen this before on several other pieces of furniture, and I liked it. It's a little different, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that proud of the back or the sides, and I'm just going to slightly chamfer those edges. And actually what I'll get is a very nice visual detail around the back.